Hello and welcome to Better Life Today. My guest today is a student at Milo Adventist Academy, and I would like to welcome to the set Elizabeth Sanchez. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's good to have you.
Thank you.
A fellow co-worker of mine heard your testimony not too long ago, and one morning at staff meeting he said, we need to get this gal on to Better Life Today so she can share her story with others. And I know what you're going to say today is going to be a real blessing to other people, so I'm glad you came. You know, so often in life we feel the depression that life can bring, and then when we turn towards God like a flower to the sun, we can really be awakened, and that is a little bit of Elizabeth's story today, so I'm glad she's here. My parents met at Milo Academy the year it opened in 55 or 56, so I guess we could say if it wasn't for Milo, I wouldn't be here. Probably wouldn't be here anyway. Well, let's talk about you. Elizabeth, I understand you lost your mother when you were just 15 years old.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. Tell me what happened.
My mom had problems with drugs, and it was really hard for her to leave those things behind. So she had an overdose when I was 15, and that really hit me and my family.
Wow.
Because it was something really unexpected.
I guess
for
so.
us. Yeah.
And as a young girl, did you know your mom was on drugs? Did you know that she struggled with addiction?
Yes. When I was little, I used to take care of her because I knew what she was doing, and I just knew that it wasn't good.
Yeah. I've heard that so many times where children, and very young at times. In fact, I had a gal in the studio not too long ago that at the age of 7 was cooking full course meals for her siblings and being the little mama, you know, at 7 years old. So do you have brothers and sisters?
No, it was just me and my mom.
Okay, just you and your mom. So when your mom died, what happened to you? Where did you go?
Well, I lived with my aunt, with my grandma's sister. I was living with her. I grew up with her when my parents got divorced when I was 3 years old. So my mom came here to the United States, and my dad stayed in Mexico.
Okay.
And my aunt was the one that was taking care of me.
Okay. And there was no possibility of you going to your father's home and living with him?
I did live with him for 2 years, but it was hard just because he had another family, and
yeah. Well, and you don't have a relationship to this day?
Well, we talk, but not much. Yeah.
Well, I just want to encourage you. You're still young, and I like to say, as long as there's breath, there's hope.
Yeah.
And so maybe you and your father will have just a wonderful relationship someday. You just never know. I found this verse in the Bible, though, from Psalm 89:26. You are my Father, my God, and the rock of my salvation. Isn't that comforting to know that we do have a heavenly Father that is always watching out for us?
Yes.
And even when we're in despair or acting up, He still loves us, the same.
Yes.
We have the same value. So tell me a little bit about being raised. You said you were raised in your aunt's home. And where was that?
In Mexico.
In Mexico?
Yes.
Which city?
Mexico. It was, it's called Montemorelos. There's an Adventist college there.
Okay.
Yes, so I was raised there until I was, I was with her in kindergarten and first and second grade, and then I came to the United States with my mom to live with her.
Okay.
Alone.
So your mom died in the States?
No, back in Mexico.
Okay, it's a back and forth trip. I know sometimes when we see something in others that we don't have, it can cause us to be sad about it. Did you ever look at other families and, wish that was you?
Yes, that became more recently, I would say. After my mom died, when I was 16 years old, I would just look at other people and their family and just be sad about it because I didn't have what they had, and it just made me feel sad everywhere I went to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can understand that. Tell me about your depression.
Well, I started having all these feelings when I was little. I would say when my mom started dealing with drugs, but I never knew how to handle them. if I can say it like that. I didn't know that I had depression until I came to my first boarding school in Tennessee. That I was far from my aunt, far from my family. I had my 18th birthday there, and just everything came to me that I noticed that it was really important for me to like face all the things that were going in my life. I would just sometimes just ignore them and try to do other things. And when I was there, everything just came to me, and that made me feel like even more depressed. Yeah.
You tried to kill yourself?
Yes.
Twice?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I tried to do it twice. When I was in my school, in the boarding school, it was my birthday, and and I was thinking about it those days. So at the beginning of March of 2020, I tried to do it, and yeah, that didn't go really good because, of course, I didn't want to tell my family about it because, well, my mom happened the same thing, so I didn't want to worry them.
Yeah.
And I was in the psychiatric for 1 week, and that was also a really not good experience. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you want to share any of that with us?
Well, it was a bad and good experience, if I can say it like that. I learned a lot being there, just seeing other people. I barely turned 18 like 2 weeks before I was there, so I got to go to the adult psychiatric, and for me that was like, it was really scary because I was just in a room with other like 20 people, and they were people that just like would say really bad stuff, and like but it was, I got to like tell other people about Jesus, and that also helped me. Because when I started with, like, when I was there in my boarding school, I stopped believing in God. So when I was in the psychiatric, I remember I asked for a Bible, and they gave me one, and then just other people would see me reading the Bible, and they would ask me, what are you doing?
Nice.
So yeah.
The Bible is a lifeline.
Yes.
So somebody threw you a lifeline for you to, like a flotation device for you to hang on to until you could get your feet back under you. You know, I'm glad you brought that up because so many times, even though we're depressed or sad, we still believe in God. You know, we still can even share Him with others, even though internally we're suffering and sad. Did you blame God for what you were going through?
Yeah, I can say that I did.
Yeah.
Like my grandfather was a pastor, so, you know, for me it was like really, really hard sometimes. Well, when I was living with my mom, we were not going to church, but always for me it was like, oh, you're the pastor's granddaughter, you have to behave this way and do this, and that for me was, I didn't like it because that was not who I was. So I was always trying to like I don't know how to explain it. I would just feel not myself. So I like blamed God for all the things that were going on in my life.
You feel He was the cause of these things, or just didn't care about you?
Well, I just feel like, He didn't care about me.
Yeah. You ended up in boarding school. You mentioned boarding school in Tennessee, and this was just last year in your junior year. What happened there? How did you come to be at boarding school, and how did you get kicked out?
Yeah, well, I finished high school in Mexico. High school there is only 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so I finished high school when I was 17 years old, and I was not ready for college. So I talked to one of my friends, and he told me about Lauerbrook, that he was there. So I just applied, and they accepted me. So I just got there in 2020, September 2020, and I was there, and it was a really nice experience. But just like, because I had like really bad depression, and because I tried to kill myself. And then I tried it again. The school like wasn't able to help me.
They just didn't know how to handle your depression. That is so sad.
Yeah.
But we can look back now and probably thank God for that, because you ended up in a different place.
Yeah.
And you ended up having a divine appointment, which we're going to talk in the second half of the program. We won't get to that quite yet. I also heard that you've suffered some great loss in your life and some real sadness. Your great-grandmother died, and your grandfather, and your best friend.
Yes.
My goodness, let's talk about your grandma for just a minute, or your great-grandmother. How did she pass away? Just from old age, or was she sick? Were you close to her?
Yeah, I was really close to her.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, I was living with my aunt. So it was my aunt and my great-grandparents.
Oh, okay.
And we were there all living in the house together. And yeah, my grandma was 98 years old. Yeah, but everything just, it was really bad because it was the summer when I got kicked out of my other school. It was that summer that my grandmother died, my great-grandmother died, and then my best friend had a brain injured, and then he died. And he was the person that showed me who Jesus really was.
Wow.
And for me, that was really like, he was just gonna turn 18. So that was really tough for me, and it damaged my life a lot. And also, when I came here, like the first days in Milo, I lost my grandfather.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so last year I lost 3 people.
That's incredible.
And yeah, and it was really hard on me, so that made me even, I don't know, feel more sad and depressed.
Probably more alone.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Was your great-grandmother an influence, a positive influence in your life? Did she teach you things that you can carry through for the rest of your life?
Yeah, of course she did.
Yeah.
Like, I would just say that, like, having a great-grandmother, for me, that's wow. You know, there's not a lot of people that get to meet them.
That's true.
And for me, that was just incredible, just that I could live with her, and it was just really nice. Her life experiences and how she met my great-grandfather and all those nice stories that we hear, they're just gonna stay with me forever.
Yeah. I bet the stories she shared with you were quite different from the upbringing, you know, as far as technology goes.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Did she talk about, I don't know, early days of automobiles and horse and wagon? I mean, we don't know, you know. But things were surely different for her.
Yeah, they were, of course.
Well, I'm so glad you're here, Elizabeth. And we're going to talk more about you and with you when we come back. Stay tuned. On the other side of the break, we're just going to ask Elizabeth how she ended up at Milo Academy. There was a divine appointment at Milo that we want to make sure we get out. Just some other questions. We'll chit-chat a little bit more right after this.
Better Life Broadcasting is a viewer-supported Christian media ministry that offers streaming programming via apps on various devices. Please visit blbn.org to support Better Life or to get more information. And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Hello and welcome back to Better Life Today. My guest is Elizabeth Sanchez. She is a student at Milo Academy. And I mentioned in the beginning of the show that's where my parents met. And if you're not familiar with Milo Academy or Academy in general, it's a boarding high school. You know, it's where you live and eat and sleep and maybe work, but you also attend classes. And it's just like any other regular high school. But I imagine you have Bible class too, right? Yeah, you have a Bible class. But Milo is a gorgeous, located and just nestled in the mountains. Yeah. Isn't it beautiful up there?
Yeah, so beautiful.
Right on a river. I think it's the Umpqua River.
I love it. It's
but
really
we'll
nice.
put the information for Milo Academy on the screen. If you have any interest in sending your child to Milo Academy, a good Christian education, we would recommend Milo. Who knows? Maybe great connections will happen there. And divine appointments, and that's what we're going to talk about next. How did you end up at Milo Academy, Elizabeth?
Well, I had friends that when I went to my boarding school in Tennessee, I also had friends that were going to Milo.
Okay.
And they told me about it. But because I was in my other boarding school, I was okay. But when I got kicked out of my other school in Tennessee, I decided to apply to Milo. And it took a few months to come here, but thanks to God, He opened the door for me to come here.
I love that. And if we have time, we're going to find out what God did to provide that financial income for you to do that. But something miraculous happened at Milo. we might call it a divine appointment,
Yes.
right? Tell me about that, where that connection with God that you were able to gain.
Yes. Well, like I said, my grandfather died at the beginning of the year, starting my school year at Milo. And I mean, everything was okay for me, I could say it that way. I didn't like deal with like depression anymore and stuff like that. So I could say like I was okay. But I still had like something that didn't let me continue, and I didn't know what it was until one home leave that we have in Milo is that you get like some like four days to go somewhere else. I went to California to a pastor's house, and there they show me the character of Jesus, like who he really is. I think that is something that I really needed to know, because sometimes we see the character of Jesus in like other people, and we think, and of course people like do things that maybe we don't like, and we're like, oh, okay, so if Jesus is like that too, you know. But it's just like how we get like distortionated, like the image of God, of who he really is.
Oh yeah.
And they showed me in a really nice way who he really is, and that just helped me a lot. So I just decided to give my life to him.
I love that.
Yeah.
And you're right. I think a lot of people, even Christians, but non-Christians certainly, have this image of God as very stern and unloving and always pointing his finger at you. And but he's not that.
No,
the Bible tells us that God is love,
He is.
and that he knew us before we were even woven in our mother's womb. You know, that's how intimate of a relationship he has with us. So what kind of picture of Jesus do you have now? How do you see him? If you were to describe him to someone, what would you say?
It's just amazing. I don't even know how I can describe it. I will start like just the way that I used to look at him before. I want to start with that, you know. Like I would see him like someone that would always like put bad things in your life and not make you like achieve what you want in life, and just like not help you at all. And like now I just see him like, I just can imagine him with his arms always open, you know, and if I do something wrong, he'll be like, okay, it's okay, you know, like I am here, like I will always love you. You don't have to ever feel alone again because I'm here, you know. Because I think that one of my struggles was that, like I said, like I always see like other people with their families, and sometimes like my friends were not even there, and I just had like no one to talk to, and that made me feel like more sad and more depressed. When I feel like that, I just go to Jesus, you know, and he reminds me that I'm just not alone, and that he is my father, he is my dad, and he will always be there for me, and that he has a great purpose in my life. I feel like all these things that the devil put in my life, God is just transforming them and using them for good. And
Amen.
just helping me to reach other people.
Amen. I love that you were able to get that picture of him when you're still in your teens, because so many people live their whole life struggling with that image of God, and they don't get it till the very end of their life, you know. Well, you can be a witness for him, I'm sure. Speaking of witnessing, I understand that you went to Florida this last Christmas.
Yes.
Why did you go to Florida?
I went canvassing.
What does that mean? What does it mean to canvass?
It was my first time canvassing. Canvassing is just, you know, going door to door, sharing the gospel, like books, you know. We have like The Desire of Ages, and like cooking books and recipe books, you know, all those really nice things. And it's actually a really, really nice experience, because you really get like close to God, and you meet other people. That it's really hard, because it's like from morning to night, like you have to be in the sun and knocking doors, or be in parking lots, and just, you know, and sometimes people are like really mean, and they're like, no, go away, I don't want anything.
Right, yeah.
Or when there's like some other people that you just give them the book, and they just start crying because they really needed hope. so it's just really nice, and just praying for other people that really like helps you. Like
Yeah.
you're helping other people, yeah, but you're also helping yourself.
That's true.
And it was just a really nice experience that I got to have this Christmas break.
I discovered a long time ago, I believe we were made to serve others.
Mm.
And that, and by that I mean that when we help others or do other, things for other people, it does give us a
Yeah.
sense of gratitude. So it's a win-win. Were you selling the books or just giving them away?
No, I was selling the books.
Oh, okay. I was
Yeah,
going to say selling them is a little bit harder than just giving them away.
Yeah, I was selling them, but when you really see like someone that needs the book, I would just give them like the book, and then I would
Yeah.
just get donations from someone else.
Nice.
And yeah.
You never know those seeds that you planted last Christmas where they'll, you probably won't know until heaven
Yeah.
what the
Yeah.
Holy Spirit was able to do with those seeds
Yeah.
that you planted.
Yeah.
It'd be exciting to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's it like to be at a Christian boarding school?
Well, it's hard sometimes.
Yeah.
It's really hard sometimes. You're away from family and stuff like that. Like your friends, maybe you're like from another country, like me or like other students there in Milo, and it's really hard. But just getting to know all the teachers and
Yeah.
all the students from like another countries, and it's really, really nice. I got to make friends from Russia, from Czech Republic, and
Wow.
yeah, that's just really nice, to know other people.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just a really nice experience. It can be hard sometimes,
Yeah.
but being in a boarding school is something pretty nice.
What does your day look like there?
Well, we have like breakfast in the morning,
And you all meet in the cafeteria?
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then I have work.
What do you do?
I work cleaning the dorm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And every student has a job there, or?
yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, every student has a job there,
Yeah.
and there's different types of works like agriculture, or like cleaning the dorm, or being a dean assistant, or there's a lot of different types of works there,
Neat.
like cleaning, like working in the caf and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
When my mom and dad went to Milo many, many years ago, and I don't know, do they still have a mill up there where they do a lot of woodworking and millworking? Oh, that's too bad. Well, my daddy worked in that department, and my mom worked in the kitchen. Yeah.
Wow.
And then how many classes do you have?
I don't have many. I have like 4 or 5. Yeah.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
That's doable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you able to use your cell phones up there?
Sometimes. I mean,
There's not very good connection, is
Yes.
there?
Yeah, there isn't. Yeah, there isn't. But we can use them sometimes.
Yeah. And then you all come together in the chapel for church service, or do you have evening worship? Or
Yes, we have evening worships, and we have chapels, and
yeah,
yeah.
nice. Well, let me ask you, how did God provide for you to attend Milo? Because
Well-
it's not free.
Yeah, of course not. Yeah. Yeah, well, like I said, it was really, I don't know, it was just amazing. Well, my grandma and my grandfather were helping me with my school in my last boarding school.
Okay.
And then I came here and my grandfather died. So it was just my grandma and my aunt, and they're the ones that are helping me, but also like me canvassing and things like that are just helping me. I also got like a great scholarship from Milo. So
Did you?
Yeah, so
Good.
it's really nice that they just been able to help me.
And do you get paid for your job at Milo?
Mm-mm.
No.
No.
Just do that as a chore,
Yes.
an errand. Yeah. Well, we're almost out of time, Elizabeth, and it's really been super special getting to know you and hearing more of your story. Is there anything else you'd like to mention that we haven't talked about?
I think I would just say, like sometimes we look for Jesus or for God, and it's really hard because we're going through some tough times in life.
Yeah.
But I would just say something that happened to me was that I was just trying all the time. And that's the problem, that I was trying and I wasn't letting him try for me.
Yeah.
So I would just say, yeah, open your heart, to God, to Jesus, and get to know him for who he is. Because we see him as a God that has like authority, and just that is really mean sometimes. Like it happened to me when I was younger. So just like now getting to know him for who he really is and knowing his love and his character, it's just something great. So I just encourage everyone that they can know him for who he really is.
Yeah, I like to say that every single one of us has a hole in our heart, and it's a Jesus-sized hole. You know, and it's fit just the shape of Jesus. Nothing else can fit in that hole but him. And until we allow that hole to be filled with Jesus, we will go on struggling with trying to fix things and do things our own way.
That's true.
If there is a young person or even an older person watching right now too that maybe is contemplating suicide or thinking about suicide, is there anything specific you would say to that person?
I think I would just say, you know, they always hear like, oh, it's going to be okay, or you're going to get better, or, you know, and they always hear like, oh, Jesus is there, don't worry, you know. So that's something that for me was like, yeah, I know he's there, but I don't see him, you know.
So it is that relationship that you need.
Yeah, you just need to wait, you know, because sometimes he's like silent, but he's working something greater for your life. If you're going through something like right now, it's like not easy, but he will show you the way, and the only way is him. So, they would know.
Amen.
Yeah.
I like what you said there. You said, just wait.
Yeah.
Just wait. Just wait until the morning or wait until the evening. Give God time to work in your life. Elizabeth, thank you so much for being here today and sharing your testimony with us. And I hope you've been blessed by her story. Again, we'll put Milo Academy's information up if you have any desire to attend Milo Academy the way Elizabeth has. And she'll be graduating this year, which is fantastic. I want to leave us with 1 John 3:1. See how very much our Father loves us, for he calls us his children, and that is what we are. Be blessed.